is so weak. It's an embarrassment to sports. It's an embarrassment to women. It is. It is. Because it is proving every fucking negative stereotype people have about women's sports correct. It's proven that it will never be taken seriously. The league itself, by the way, there is a world where the league can outgrow an incompetent
That level of frustration didn't come out of nowhere. What you're seeing is the breaking point after a season where the WNBA reached new heights, with more mainstream attention, record viewership, and real cultural relevance. Then the league slowly chipped away at all that momentum. The moment that set this off was when the WNBA shared a post celebrating Caitlin Clark for getting a new role presenting an NBA show on NBC. Within hours, the backlash was so intense that the league deleted the post completely. Think about that for a moment. The league removed a post about one of its own players landing a major media opportunity simply because fans were angry she was being recognized.
Like, you better believe, when AJ Wilson got her Time magazine cover, when she won the Athlete of the Year, whatever it was everywhere. It was absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And nothing, no flaw, no problems, nothing. When AJ Wilson gets her shoe, no problems. When Caitlin gets her shoe, she's not allowed. When Caitlin gets Rookie of the Year, it's actually a whole bunch of racist voters. When Caitlin Clark makes all WNBA first team over.
Here's the pattern that showed up all season in 2024. When Aya Wilson landed the Time magazine cover and won Athlete of the Year, the WNBA promoted it everywhere and there was no controversy. When Aya got her signature shoe deal, the league celebrated it publicly and again there were no issues. But when Caitlin Clark reached similar milestones, a completely different standard was used. Her Rookie of the Year award was brushed off by some as being the result of racist voters. Her selection to the All-WNBA first team over Sabrina Ionescu led to accusations of racial bias instead of basketball merit. Even her triple-double performance had critics claiming the arena used fake crowd noise. The double standard isn't subtle at all.
Let's be real. As much as we joke about the that bitch perfect tweet, when Caitlin Clark dropped a 40-point, 1 rebound off a 40-point triple-double against Angel Reese to beat LSU in her senior year, if you guys don't know, the first thing that happened was everyone started searching her social media to see if she said anything to try to cancel her. Like, it's nothing is to do with basketball. Like, it's funny because nothing's there.
Let's go back to a game that shows this perfectly. During Caitlin's senior year at Iowa, she faced LSU and Angel Reese and put on an incredible performance. She scored 40 points, missed a triple-double by just 1 rebound, and completely dominated LSU. That performance should have been the main story. Instead, people immediately started digging through her social media, trying to find anything they could use to discredit or cancel her. They weren't breaking down her game or talking about how she controlled the offense. They were just looking for controversy. When they couldn't find anything, the focus didn't return to her dominance on the court. It simply shifted to the next manufactured outrage.
All that in 2024. We did see that in 2024. The league can outgrow it because, let's be real. Like, I don't think everyone's complaining about Elle Duncan. I don't think Elle Duncan's show's that bad. I don't think Elle Duncan is one of the bad ones. I think the bad ones, realistically, Carolyn Peck, Swoops, obviously they got rid of Swoops, Cindy Brunson, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the really bad ones on media. I think Chiney's fine. Andrea Carter's fine. Renee Montgomery's pretty bad.
Now here's where this becomes truly damaging for the league itself. By giving in to the pressure and deleting that NBC post, the WNBA reinforced every negative stereotype critics have used about women's sports for years. It made the league look like it can't handle success professionally, that it's driven more by drama than competition, and that it shouldn't be taken seriously as a legitimate sports league. The most frustrating part is that 2024 actually showed the opposite was possible. For the first time, mainstream sports media treated the WNBA like a real league. ESPN, Fox Sports, and other major outlets covered it with the same serious analysis they use for men's sports. Discussions about all WNBA teams, playoff matchups, and individual performances were happening in the same way people talk about the NBA or NFL.
Sports media covering the league, talking about it in the way it should be talked about, whether it be in a debate setting, whether it be in like a actual sports setting, they were actually talking about the league the way it was supposed to be talked about. Like it was a true sports league, and there was a respect there for the WNBA in the year 2024, and it wasn't just Caitlin Clark. Like what Arike did in the All-Star game, people were rightfully hyped about Arike. The reason they were rightfully hyped about Arike was because what she did was insane. What she did was insane. And we've gone full 360. Like it 180 because the WNBA media was you have to
The media personalities around the WNBA are a big part of this problem, though not everyone. Analysts like Chiny Aguamike and Andrea Carter give solid basketball analysis. But others have built their platforms around constant complaints instead of actually breaking down the game. Names like Carolyn Peck, Cheryl Swoops, Cindy Brunson, and Renee Montgomery come up often in that context. Montgomery's situation is especially concerning because she is a part owner of a WNBA team while also working as a media analyst. That's not just a possible conflict of interest, it's an obvious one that would never be accepted in major men's sports leagues. Imagine an NBA team owner also working as an analyst covering their own team and its competitors.
Because Caitlin Clark brought in people that were willing to talk about this like the sport, the argument then became you can't praise Caitlin Clark because praising Caitlin Clark is in fact putting down players of color. And I'm like, what relevance is that? Like, I remember literally my all W first team last year. I think I can't remember what I said. I said something like the only reason Brianna Stewart is on the first team, will be on the first team over Caitlin Clark. Sorry, Sabrina Ionescu will be on the first team over Caitlin Clark. Is if you're you just want to prove a point. And apparently that was, nothing to do with basketball. Like, yes, because it has nothing to do with basketball and it's all.
But here's what made 2024 different, at least for a while. When Erica Aguamike had an amazing performance in the All-Star game, the reaction was exactly what it should have been. Fans were excited, and mainstream sports media covered it enthusiastically. People who came for Caitlin Clark stayed to watch performances like that because they were seeing elite basketball. That's how sports fandom works. You come for one player, but you stay for the competition and the excellence. The WNBA was being talked about on shows like First Take and Undisputed, with the same energy and analysis they give the NBA. Real basketball skill was driving the conversation. Caitlin brought the initial attention, but the league's product was strong enough to keep it.
And the fact is the league are doubling down on this shit. Like, I mean this when I say this, like, the league have given VIP passes free to people who have threatened to show up to games with a gun and shoot people that they've gotten into arguments with online. And the league have posted things promoting these people. Like, are we crazy? Like, the league again have given media credentials to someone who called Caitlin Clark a fucking teenage boy. Like, who called Caitlin.
Then the league and its most vocal media figures slowly tore down that progress. The conversation shifted to the idea that praising Caitlin Clark automatically meant putting down players of color. It wasn't about recognizing other deserving players, it was that praising her at all was seen as a problem. Think about how ridiculous that is when it comes to real basketball analysis. If someone votes Caitlin onto the All-WNBA first team, it's because of her stats, her impact on winning, and her overall performance. But instead of being seen as a basketball decision, it gets twisted into a racial statement. That isn't sports journalism, that's activism pretending to be coverage.
Literally, there's a network that employs somebody who somebody tweeted out a hate tweet about Caitlin Clark referring to her as white bread, and a post commented in a positive way agreeing with what they said. The name Caitlin Clark wasn't there, and in the end they were like, oh, I didn't even realize what I was responding to. Yes, you did. You basically responded with a, yeah, I agree. And just assume, and yes, that person did not call Caitlin Clark white bread, but they responded to a tweet calling her that, as if it was Caitlin Clark, knowing it was Caitlin Clark. Like, it's actually embarrassing. It's actually embarrassing. This league is fucking embarrassing. What are we doing? It's an embarrassment to sports. It's an embarrassment to every one of these players in this league. It's an embarrassment to taking the sport seriously. And the league will never be taken seriously. The league was taken seriously in 2024 because there was a bubble, and the bubble has been popped, and now we are left going crazy because when this type of shit was happening in 2024, there was at least some form of a fan base to clap back against this. Now that fan base is gone because let's be real. People's attention is, like, people's time and attention is valuable, and all they're doing is making people more and more say, why the fuck? Why would I want to spend time focusing on this league? That's all they do. That's all this league has done, and they think they're worth more money than they are worth. They want to sign a deal where they're going to get paid based on what they project the league to be, but in the end of the day, it's like, the league's only going to trend downwards if this keeps staying. If this keeps staying the way it is, the league's only trending downwards. And the players keep thinking they're going to pay, and they're going to strike, and they think it's going to get them paid, and it's just going to shut down the league. And there's, the NECAs of the world and the fees of the world are happy out the strike because they're going to make their money, and then you're going to see them.
The league's position is even harder to defend when you look at who it has given VIP access and media credentials to. People who made violent threats online, who argued aggressively on social media, and even threatened to show up at games with weapons, were still given free access by the WNBA. At the same time, media credentials went to someone who publicly called Caitlin Clark a teenage boy, and another media member responded positively to a tweet calling her white bread, claiming later they didn't realize what it meant, though it was obvious they did. This isn't about protecting all players equally. It's about creating a hierarchy where some players can be celebrated endlessly while others are constantly torn down, and the league is actively participating in it rather than stopping it. When official league accounts delete posts celebrating player achievements because of online backlash, the league loses control of its own story. It lets the most toxic fans dictate how the WNBA communicates. The consequences are already visible. Casual fans who tuned in during 2024 are starting to check out. Why invest time in a league that treats excellence as a problem? Why follow a sport where the conversation is never about the actual basketball? The WNBA had a brief window where mainstream sports fans were ready to give it attention, and the league is driving those fans away by making every story about everything except the game itself. Meanwhile, the players are being told they deserve significantly higher salaries, and they do. Revenue growth in 2024 supports bigger paychecks. But the players' union is preparing for a strike, thinking it gives them leverage for a better deal. What they aren't considering is that a strike could give some NBA owners exactly what they want, an excuse to shut down a league that has historically lost money. Players may think they're negotiating from a position of strength thanks to 2024's success, but that success is already fading because of how the league and its media have handled it. For most WNBA players, the stakes are huge. Take someone like Grace Van Slutton, a second-round pick who could make a roster and play professionally for 3 to 4 years. Between her WNBA salary and overseas opportunities, she could earn around $1 million in her first 4 years, a life-changing amount. But if a lockout happens or the league shuts down, she could be looking at an office job instead of a professional basketball career. Meanwhile, the media personalities pushing for strikes are insulated. Their platforms aren't at risk, and a lockout gives them more content, more grievances to highlight, and more chances to act as advocates. The players bear the real consequences. The WNBA had something special in 2024: mainstream legitimacy, real sports coverage, growing fan bases, and casual viewers becoming invested fans. All it took was treating it like a professional league, celebrating excellence regardless of who achieved it, letting basketball skill drive the narrative, and protecting all players from harassment and threats. Instead, the league bowed to the loudest voices, elevating some players while diminishing others for reasons unrelated to basketball. The deleted NBC post is the perfect example. Caitlin Clark landing a presenting role on an NBA show was a huge opportunity for her and the league, but the WNBA deleted the